the CIA is constantly pushing the envelope of legality, and they just wait for somebody to push back. And the reason why the Russians haven't agreed to substantive talks brokered by Donald Trump is that they're winning, so that it is now legal for the American government to propagandize the American people. Every one of them has seen something, some ship. Sometimes they're coming out of the water. That I probably shouldn't comment on.
So, what do you feel about the situation that's occurring in Israel and Gaza, and even after the ceasefire, the deaths that have been occurring and the
Yeah.
civilian to military casualty proportions? How do you feel about this situation, and why do you think that the West, and particularly the US, is so complacent in their response?
I feel that this is a genocide. I think it's very clear that it's a genocide. It meets every definition of a genocide, including ethnic cleansing. Um, I don't believe there has been a ceasefire because the Israelis have continued to kill Palestinian civilians quite literally every single day since the so-called ceasefire was initiated. And and I think the reason why the United States, I hesitate to use the word complacent because complacency implies disinterest.
Mhm.
I'm going to say I think the reason why the US is a part of this and it's on the side of the Israelis and Israeli actions in both Gaza and the West Bank is that the pro-Israel lobby in the United States is so strong that almost no one has the guts to stand up to Israel. There are Israeli lobbyists in literally every single one of the 535 members of Congress on Capitol Hill. There are Israeli lobbyists in literally every single one of the 50 state legislatures. And now we have Israeli lobbyists lobbying at the local level. Why? Why
Mhm.
do Israelis care about the outcome of American school board races? Or who gets elected mayor of what town? Or who gets elected to some little teeny tiny district in Kansas or Arizona? It doesn't make sense to me unless it's a concerted effort to control American foreign policy, which I believe that it is.
Do you think that the attacks on Iran, for example, are proof of the fact that Israeli influences,
Oh,
APAC,
yeah.
other lobbyist groups might want to control American policy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Iran is not a threat to the United States, period. I state that as fact. Iran is not a threat to the United States. The Iranians don't have weapons to attack the United States, and even if they had weapons, they don't have delivery systems to attack the United States. They're a threat to Israel. Why? Because Israel's a threat to them. Somebody said something to me the other day, and it was so simple and it made such sense. Why are we not talking about North Korea right now? I can tell you why. Because North Korea has a nuclear weapon. So nobody's going to attack North Korea because they don't want North Korea to attack them. That's why the Iranians have sought a nuclear weapon. Well, I mean, the CIA says that they actually haven't sought a nuclear weapon. But were they to seek one, it's to protect themselves against the Israelis. The Israelis who have dozens, apparently, dozens of nuclear weapons.
And in terms of the intelligence cooperation between the US and Israel, how deep does this go?
That I probably shouldn't comment on.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Um, so if this is something you can't comment on as well, then I can cut it from the interview or whatever. But in the case of October the 7th, do you see it as an intelligence breakdown or political complacency or something else? I mean, I know we have the Hannibal Directive, but what would you say about this?
I'm of two minds about October 7th. On the one hand, it was clear for 2 or 3 weeks in advance of the attack that something was afoot. There were settlers who were warning Jerusalem that an attack was coming. But these two morons, ministers Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who are in charge of security, apparently say they believed that the attack was going to come in the West Bank, not in Gaza. And that's why they were unprepared. That's one side of the story. The other side, and I think there's probably something to this, was this attack on October 7th gave the Israeli government the green light to utterly destroy Gaza, destroy it. There are probably 200,000 people dead. Officially, there are 69,000. We have no idea how many dead remain under the rubble, just as skeletons now. But I think that was the whole plan, was to completely destroy Gaza and to throw out literally all of the Palestinians so that the whole area could be resettled with Israelis.
And do you think there's any way of Hamas and the Israeli government coming to a proper, effective ceasefire or a peace plan or a two-state solution, or do you think that the Israelis
No,
just aren't interested in that?
no. Benjamin Netanyahu very proudly said the other day that he killed the two-state solution. There is no two-state solution. It's
Hmm.
gone. And it's gone because he killed it. So no, Hamas is, a handful of guys with long beards. The Israelis are murdering civilians, women, children, the elderly, the sick. And you can't have as a viable policy to just kill everybody. The Israelis, of all people in the world, should know something like that. And so I don't think there's any chance of a true ceasefire. I don't think there's any chance of a real peace. Look, when the Israelis continue to bomb the Palestinian negotiating team while they're in other countries, there won't be any peace. No.
Hmm. And do you think, in terms of the political influence that Israel has in the US, do you think that there's any way to mitigate this or try and reverse this, or do you think it's just too embedded into every area of
Well,
US politics?
it's a combination of being embedded and also of senior policymakers not having any problem with it. Donald Trump has no problem with the Israelis running US foreign policy. And Joe Biden also didn't have a problem with that.
Hmm.
No. And Barack Obama and George W. Bush, and they all just accept that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to run American foreign policy.
I mean, I think this will lead on to some of my next questions, but do you think that there's a reason for this beyond the common claim that Israel is our greatest ally and Israel is a
Yeah,
point
it's
of
money.
strength in the Middle East?
Sure, it's money. It's money.
Hmm.
If you are not 1000% pro-Israeli, if you are not an ardent Zionist, they will spend millions of dollars to defeat you in an election. And more often than not, they're successful. So if
Yeah.
you have any hopes for a political career in the United States, you have to be ardently and publicly Zionist.